do you ever have that question in your mind? Do you ever wonder about that alternate life that you'd be living if you'd never come across the movement? Do you ever have that question? Maybe, yeah? Maybe even talk about it, this alternate you that we're living right now. You hope some friends of mine have told me they don't think they would be living, but that would be living now if you hadn't come across the Dharma. I just want to read a quote to you that I think is really relevant to this. And it's a quote from Gustav Mahler, the famous composer, of course, in the 19th century, I think. And the quote is, "Tradition is the handing on of the flame, and not the worship of ashes." Tradition is the handing on of the flame, and not the worship of ashes. And as Jnana Chandra exposed so beautifully this morning, what we are doing here, of course, is we're in the very early stages of building a new Buddhist tradition, a Western Buddhist tradition. And why are we doing that? Because I guess the reason we're doing that is because we want this same transformation that we've experienced in our lives, we want many, many people in the future generations to enjoy. And then if we expand that out to the world, we want a world of people who've experienced transformation. And maybe some of us are quite worried by current trends in the world, and we really want to be part of creating a movement, a community that's gonna change that future world. Looking within into the position we're in this morning, as Jnana Chandra also said this morning, we are on the brink of a really crucial time, a transitional time. In a way, we've been there for a few years, a time when a future without the direct guidance of Urgyen Sangharakshita. We don't know when that's going to come, but at some point that's going to come. And I suppose the great question is: will our flame, the flame that's animated, that's illuminated, that's heated, that's warmed our hearts and our community, will that continue to burn as brightly or even brighter, or will it, as happens unfortunately in many spiritual or religious movements, dwindle and even blow out altogether? That's the very particular, in Central Triratna, historic challenge that we're facing right now. That hopefully in centuries they'll look back on as, didn't they do well? And as Jnana Chandra said, I think Bhante's done everything he possibly could to make this transition work, and now it's over to us. And I imagine that all of us are taking that on. I imagine all of us are taking that on to some degree. All of us are trying to make that shift that Vasantra talked about the other day, of I to we. So this movement is not just for me and my growth and development. Actually, it's for the growth and development of people throughout the world. I want to build a community. We want to build a community of people around the world who can grow and develop as we've enjoyed. But we also know how hard that is because of the difficulties of actually sustaining, let alone deepening our practice. With all of the different pulls, the gravitational pulls, the other ebbs and flows that we face in our lives. How do we do that? And so what a few of us are doing at the request of Bhante, a few amongst our number, is they've really taken on that responsibility for tending that flame, tending the flame of our tradition. And I'm going to read you their names. Well, the ones in Europe anyway. I won't read all, but I'll read the ones in Europe. Meaning Europe and the UK. But in mainland Europe, Mokshananda, Vajragita. In UK and Ireland, Dayanandi, Dharmadina, Maitreyi, Padmashuri, Parami, Ratnadharani. These names probably mean something to you, right, when I read them. Sangadevi, Artapriya, Damarati, Kamalashila, Mahamati, Maitreya Bandhu, Manju Vajra, Nagabodhi, Padmavajra, Paramabandhu, Sadaloka, Satyaraja, Sona, Subhuti and Surita. What a list! What a list of really extraordinary men and women. And well, of course, what I'm talking about, I haven't, you've got the forms and anything, but of course, what I'm talking about is this is the Public Preceptors College. These men and women are the Public Preceptors College. There isn't some institution, there is these men and women, that's who there is, plus some from US, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and India. That group of 30 or so men and women have basically taken on, and what a responsibility, the future of this whole Triratna Buddhist community worldwide. That's their task. In a sense, and what does that task? Well, that task obviously is to take responsibility for ordination training. That crucial role of saying, well, who's going to enter our order and create the future of our order and our movement? One of those men or women, I imagine, put this kesa around your neck for the first time. Maybe it was Bhante as well, if you were ordained longer ago, or one or two other public preceptors no longer active. Maybe just take a moment. Can you remember that moment when that kesa went on? You remember that? Yes. Yes. Probably made an impression, right? So, well, for many of us, I think that's where we kind of stop thinking about public preceptors and all that sort of thing, frankly. Because I imagine few of us really know quite what they do. So I'm just going to tell you now. They, as well as overseeing our ordination, they're actually overseeing the whole ordination training, of course, for everyone. They're training private preceptors. They are leading going for refuge retreats. They are obviously having lots of meetings, deciding who's going to be invited into the order. So there's that whole area around ordination. They're also actually organisationally quite key. They lead and contribute to all sorts of crucial coordinating bodies, like the European Chairs Assembly, like the International Council. They're also a source of inspiration, of course. They're individually and collectively deepening their practice and understanding of the Dharma. And of course, developing in relation to this, to an ever-changing world. Their task is to make sure that Triratna Dharma stays relevant and inspiring and dynamic and alive and responsive to this world that, of course, is changing so much every year, but let alone every century. So that's their task. They go and give talks in centres. They've got a lot of personal contact. They mediate difficulties. They write. They lead retreats. So these are all the activities that public preceptors are taking part in. And what I want to emphasise is they're doing that individually, but they're also doing it collectively. And that's why we have this name college. I've written out there, remember the college. And someone thought of Wymondham College. No, I mean the College of Public Preceptors. That's what I want you to remember. To do this collectively, they meet every year for it's 10 days, twice a year, at Adhisthana, and they talk about issues in the movement. They develop approaches to Dharma and make decisions where that's necessary, obviously about ordinations, but other things too. And the amazing thing is they're doing that completely voluntarily. I'll come into that in a second. Coming back to music, it's been said that if all the music in the world, Western world, I'm just talking about Western music actually, Western world was destroyed and some freak, I don't know what that would be, all the MP3 players got wiped out, everything. As long as Bach's music was preserved somehow, then all of music could be recreated. That all of music that's come since all the way through till techno, I guess, could be recreated. I think, and maybe it's a big range, but I think the same could be said about the college, even if, actually, all of our other institutions collapsed, and who knows what's going to happen over the next few hundred years. All of the Buddhist centres, the big institutions like Karana Trust, Windhorse Trading, even the order itself maybe, even if they all collapsed, if at least there were a group of people who really still understood the spirit that animates our movement, that's been handed down from Bhante through them to us, we could rebuild. So this is a pretty crucial body. This is my argument, as you can tell. This crucial body for the global movement with tens of thousands of people all around the world devoting their lives to this. The whole thing runs, guess what, on fresh air almost. I mean, we've got one supported public preceptor, that's Dhammarathi, who's the chair. We've got a half-time admin assistant or secretary, that's Vidyatara. That's it. That's it. The whole thing runs on that. And you might say, well, that's great, isn't it? We're really light, we're really lean, we're a lean organisation. It's not. It's really not. I mean, I've been there, and it's so hard for that body to get anything done in between meetings because they've got no kind of executive to carry out their decisions. You've got public preceptors having to pay their own travel costs and accommodation costs to come to events. Often they can't really afford it. Hope she doesn't mind me mentioning, but Dharma Dena, who's worked her whole life for the movement, she has to use her state benefits just to travel and come to these events, these college events. Moksha Nanda, again, I hope he doesn't mind me saying, he wrote to me recently, me and Nandavajra, because we were at the chair assembly, saying, I don't know how I'm going to support myself. And he's the only male public preceptor in Europe. Can the chairs do anything? That kind of need for money. So there is a real shortage of resources there at the absolute heart of our movement. That's my basic point. And so, yes, I'm asking you to give again. Yes, you've had some fantastic appeals, Dhammachakra, and that wonderful one from Vasantra this morning. And I know a lot of people responded. So here I am. It's the last appeal, I think, of the convention. But I just think, I'm obviously right behind this. I want you to get behind it too if you can. And you're probably thinking, oh my goodness, I can't bear it. I can't do another standing order or another, what have you, another gift. I can't afford it. How can I put this? I just don't think that's true. I just don't think it's true. Even if we're on support, we can afford one more standing order, especially for this. So that's my request, is please do just one more. And then another one next year, but just one more. So, I thought it was very good, like Sandra was saying this morning, if you haven't got your bank details or you're not quite sure yet how much you want to give or whatever, then just give your name to the beautiful people who'll be waiting outside. That's Vajratara, Nandavajra, Siddhiswari, Yashadeva, Silajala, Mumukshu, Shantavajri and Jayaraja will all be standing out there. So you'll have to just duck past them best you can. Just as we say, give what you can. Just give what you can, whatever that is. And in a way, being serious about it, let's do whatever we can to make sure that this tradition does last for centuries. That flame that animates this tradition, no preservation of ashes. That flame that's warmed our hearts, that's lit up our lives, can do the same for many, many people over future generations. Thank you.